to ensure that, we stay motivated all through the journey of this presentation. And who best can we remember when we start our discussions every day in the morning? And this place is home for me. I've lived here 18 years, and this is why every single day I definitely remember the leadership for giving us the platform to kind of build upon our innovations, our ideas, and helping us dream big so that we can build and support the needy and people of less fortune. So always remember one thing: keep your vision extremely high, accomplish higher, and really serve humanity. That's what I would like to kind of as a takeaway of this presentation. I want you to take away. I'll be talking very interesting topic on social enterprise. You all are ASEC team members from around the world, and why is it really a best time to kind of think social, think about society, think about doing something for the society? Because we've really come a long way in the last 1 year. Funnily, everybody is also celebrating the anniversary of the pandemic, the first anniversary, which luckily I this exact day last year, I came back from a long trip from Europe. I actually had decided to move a little further to Europe, but I noticed that something was going wrong, and I decided to come back. So, the idea is of how and why we should now become more social than ever. And I'm going to give you and leave you with some inputs for you to think, and also bring you some interesting nuggets we at Founder Institute follow. Literally, the world is broken. Okay, Myanmar, war, Syria war, Iraq happened, food waste all over the place. Masks and hand gloves are spreading in oceans. Earlier, we thought only plastic is being wasted. Now, Australia is deploying special forces to clean up the pandemic waste, which is like ridiculous. We are seeing more poverty and grow. People are accessing the food bank infrastructure more than before. Fires, natural calamities, the snowstorm in Texas, the California fire, all of this is happening at a sudden moment. You don't know what's going to happen next moment to your life. So literally the world is really broken. There is strains of pandemic all over the place, right? And a year ago, we never imagined that something like this could happen, right? So what are we going to do about it? Are we really going to change the world from a more humorous perspective and think about solutions on what's going to be really possible? And if you are able to figure that out very quickly in your journey till you're students, and then once you finish your student life, move into entrepreneurship, right? Or get employed in an organization who is dedicated to serving humanity, figure that out and make it happen, because the possibilities are endless. And as of today, there are only 3% of the entrepreneurs in the whole wide world out of the 100%, right? 97% are people employed by entrepreneurs. So the top entrepreneurs are going to solve the greatest problem facing this world, facing all of us. And I think you should be a contributor. There are rural communities who want access to education, who want access to food. There are urban communities who need clean energy, clean air to breathe, clean water. And a lot of urbanization also has caused more problems, actually. They need simpler infrastructure to commute from point A to point B. So why I am putting this thought is because literally the entrepreneur movement will actually help you solve the biggest challenges which are out there. Identify those challenges pretty early as you begin your journey. I'd like to bring in Edio Rassi and introduce him. Edio is the founder, co-founder and CEO of Founder Institute. I'm also very proud. I actually wanted to kind of postpone my introduction till this moment, right? So I'm the regional director at Founder Institute, plus I run a consulting company driving digital transformation and mechanics and special platforms in mechanization of manufacturing tech. And so I actually wanted to bring in Edio into this conversation where, since 2009 or before 2009, when actually Founder Institute started, he has been personally involved in solving and building some of the real challenges facing humanity. And really, his mission is to at least build 1 million entrepreneurs during his lifetime to solve humanity. And we are about 5,000 now in the last 11 years. And hopefully this tradition continues. So really, there are umpteen problems, unlimited problems. Can you become one of the flagship entrepreneur to solve them? Luckily, again, why is the best time to solve this problem? Because if you see all around the world, social entrepreneurship has become and is becoming the game. It has gained global steam. Funds like social capital have started investing big time in social entrepreneurs. And also, there is a movement actually to connect the world with equitable resources, right? So while you may, as an entrepreneur, play an important role, there are funders in the social space who are actually standing in front of the door of your startup which you're building with funds you really require or exceeding that amount. So really today, there are more investors in the social space chasing entrepreneurs who are building really impactful problems, building upon impactful problems, and they are ready to really follow on investments at different stages. And you will actually see how this journey of social entrepreneurship in the next 3 to 5 years will become a major movement all around the world. It's already started gaining traction since before the pandemic started, because a lot of funds as a corporate governance have also a separate sector of investment around social impact. And this is why you will see the fund of funds and large funds really going after these social impact projects. So are you ready to become one of the entrepreneurs? I also wanted to kind of, before moving in, whether this is the right time, but give you some basics about and fundamentals about social entrepreneurship to kind of clarify the understanding about a social enterprise. Because most of the people take social enterprise as an NGO or a non-profit, but I really want to put some perspective in exactly what is a social enterprise and why should one build a social enterprise. So as per the Oxford Dictionary, an organization that applies commercial strategies, remember, commercial strategies to maximize social impact than profits. So here we're talking about actually a for-profit type of approach, but to serve the underprivileged, and really plowing those profits or plowing those incomes back into the business. And as we go along to the presentation, it will be clear to you on how those mechanisms work. So as an entrepreneur, what do I have there? Samir, you gave us a good story. This is the time to build, right? But really, where do I get started? And what are the kind of mechanisms, what are the kind of models out there available for me to build? So I'd like to put some models into perspective to give you some understanding about where the opportunity lies. And so this is clear in front of your eyes, saying whether I should purely build a non-profit, or should I build a entrepreneurial for-profit organization and do a social contribution and things like that. The new age terminology is around funds who are investing is also called conscious investing. And there are a couple of funds in the UAE who are actually come out with programs on conscious investing, wherein they really want to invest in high growth, social impact tech entrepreneurs who are following the UN SDGs. So on the entrepreneurial nonprofit, this is a purely single man, single entity organization who's actually wanting to do and contribute his or her whole self to the well-being of the society, right? It under various tax provisions in various jurisdictions, they get exemptions, they get tax exemptions, and definitely you could become, if you have amassed certain amounts of wealth, what you had planned, you can actually become as an individual non-entrepreneurial nonprofit, as a single person. Some of the large entrepreneurs or highly successful entrepreneurs like Elon and Bill Gates, and they have a combination of models, right? They have their foundations, which are nonprofits, which is the second model. Like, for example, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They have a nonprofit which kind of completely serves certain areas of the SDGs. And then for certain period of time, they're tax exempt. And then when they start actually getting revenues from external parties, okay, then what it can, then the government will actually start imposing tax, because literally it's a revenue earned, and then they have to give back that revenue to the taxpayer. So that's the kind of a non-profit, purely non-profit. There are many non-profit entities as well, which are like the Red Crescents, and which are purely non-profit, which serve disaster, which serve poverty, and many in the UAE registered under Community Development Authority. There are socially responsible businesses who kind of give, and again, look at that some of these business models actually overlap each other, because a major part of the business models are similar, or are either delving into some of the best practices of each other, right? So a socially responsible business is actually, I would say 80% is they are benefiting to the society, 20% is actually getting more profits into the company, while there are very new models which are coming, which are donations and proceeds, and which are a combination of for-profit and non-profit. And as I said, there are conscious company models which are around, like, for example, some of the large brands conduct events around charities and also around reducing waste and conscious consumption. So these lifestyle brands or these large enterprises are positioning now a little of their effort under conscious consumption habits for people to be more responsible to the world, to the planet, right? And and then there are purely charitable activities which one does without an expectation of no profit kind of, but purely giving away to the society, classified under entrepreneurial non-profit, right? What is the spectrum? So the first model was traditional philanthropy, you know, you give for the good of the society, purely donation based. Now it could be money, it could be time, it could be different resources. You lend in disasters. It could be with a small profit generation. For example, if it's a non-profit organization, you're still doing philanthropy. But if you want to maintain like an ISAC model, you know, if you want to maintain certain resources to help grow the philanthropy practice, you will still need to earn a little bit of profit so that, you know, you can continue building on the social impact. And then there are socially mandated activities for all reinvestments, and typically ranging from country to country, you invest between 2% all the way up to 30% back into the benefit of the society. And now the red dot, the big red dot you see, is around mandated investing, which a lot of governments are actually asking and companies to do mandated investing and reinvesting, which is because they have been for a long period of time profit-making entities, and so these concepts are emerging. And then there are traditional for-profit entities which are far, but as they grow nearer to the profit mode in terms of revenue generation, they become self-conscious to actually help the society. A very interesting model also is emerging. This is a small slide I borrowed from Deloitte. Companies are making their employees think purpose, potential, perspective. What does that mean? You know, now today technology is becoming the biggest driver for us to kind of drive a change in humanity, right? But if that change in purpose, change is not led by certain purpose, okay, by a certain group of individuals, um, it it will not work at scale, right? So many organizations, you will see that they have and they are putting in place certain people practices or HR practices which will help infuse technology, infuse human practices to bring our best in leadership, which is purpose driven, to reinvent societal problems, understanding the potential where this solution, okay, a simple example could be a company coming forward and trying to solve a sanitation problem in a rural village 40 miles from you know, where they are located. Could be as simple as that. Or a large organization, a Fortune company, trying to really, maybe based in the US, trying to solve a problem in Africa with their employee force in Africa. So now when I have a certain purpose and I have, as a company CEO, I've assigned that purpose to an individual group of people, right? How do I first understand their individual potential to execute that particular social impact work, and then go beyond what they have been doing to go to the next level and execute more, become more geography agnostic and have a higher impact. Now, what this gives, if an organization is thinking this way, for any employee, it really gives a sense of attachment, loyalty. You know, earlier organizations did not think so much about really what's the best way to retain our employees. But today's organizations, it is becoming mandatory for you know, organizations to think very social, to put perspective, because the life of an organization is become very uncertain, right? And take some very interesting bold steps which can solve certain problems facing humanity, ensure that they maintain safety and security at the workplace. So it's a very beautiful view on how a normal corporation is weaving in social enterprise at work. You know, this slide is a bit complex, but I'd like to simplify this as well. Um, you know, in 2013, 2014, there were various elements and understanding about how exactly a social enterprise would work, right? There has to be various elements connecting the social enterprise. It starts as simple as, you know, what do I define as social work in my organization if I'm a for-profit company? It starts from the definition. Then what impact am I planning to create? If I'm an FMCG product company, right? Uh, how do I reduce wastage in my packaging, in all my processes, right? What is the societal and impact for the planet I can create? So identifying that at the root level uh, became very, very mandatory. And organizations, I would say, since 2000 really started thinking on what impact can I drive to my routes of production, routes of production and manufacturing, distribution, and then how do I build within my organization that particular community which can actually influence execution of those social tasks, right? So uh, if you look at some of the roles of people within the organization, it is very much limited to what they think and what they do, right? It is not beyond certain. They don't elevate themselves, right? So who can influence them to take an extra task around social entrepreneurship and become a social entrepreneur within the organization? And only a leader can do that. So it is very important that these decisions were really driven. Leadership went through workshops over workshops, and then they drove the agenda of social entrepreneurship. They created the influence circles, and they also budgeted certain amount of investment or money or funds to drive that agenda so that it could become more connected as a whole ecosystem, and then completely reduce uncertainty and help the organization grow in a more global environment. But it is more like a platform. This structure is like a platform, and limited to certain geographies. And this is evolving as we speak. This is evolving over different organizations. They're remodeling these structures. They're putting key stakeholders in place. They're putting impact KPIs, which I'll be discussing in a short moment. And so that's how the maturity level of an enterprise when it comes to social thinking is happening. UN SDGs, how do we do it? You know, what is required for us to do it? Uh, uh, you know, do we just put a mask? Do we put gloves? Can we execute? Can we become a front sales person? Can we serve humanity by being a nurse? Can we actually help some of the people who do not get enough resources by way of providing the stimulus, for the financial stimulus which is given by governments, because the stimulus takes a lot of time to trickle down. So how we do it, like and this is more relating to my experience with Founder Institute. What we have been doing, in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to explain and also take you through the impact KPIs we've kind of done. So, and then I'm going to leave the floor for any question and answers. And what we have done, we've actually set a target. We have 5,000 plus alumni. Okay, since 2009 we began. And what we really want to do out of this alumni and out of all the people who are reaching us, all the entrepreneurs who are applying for our program, we are mandating them to put a social curriculum in place so that they comply to all the UN SDGs. And we want to ensure that all the businesses which get built through Founder Institute comply to at least 2 or 3 UN SDGs by 2030. That's what we have been doing, and that's we put it as a mission of the company. We have also put a progress planner, and I'm very excited to show you how this progress planner works once we are at the conclusion of the session. You know, we've put all the UN SDGs, and you know, you can actually monitor all the progress on how each of your KPIs, what you have defined, is actually trickling down to the progress of your company. So, and without a progress tracker or without measuring anything, you cannot move forward. So we've put that in place. Some of the initiatives, when we think about complying to SDGs, we have also put some initiatives. And these initiatives came naturally, came from our employees, came because we, you know, if you saw the matrix, the honeybee matrix, which I showed you earlier, basically our leadership empowered employees to think around social, on what they can build, how they can bring out 2-3 UN SDGs into our program. And one of the very early initiative came in as a female founder initiative. Today, in most of the entrepreneurship community, you will see that there is a dearth of female founders. So today on the floor, if you're a female founder, if you're listening to me, I think there is amazing level of opportunity and equal societal respect. If you are building something for the planet, something for the society, there are many venture funds dedicated to funding female founders. And this is one of the reasons we started Female Founder Initiative, to help female founders excel and build a good business which has a social impact. More recently, with with the Black movement and all of that, which is happening in the US, we also came up with a Black American Founder Fellowship. In the Female Founder and the Black American Founder Fellowship, we actually help these categories of people get completely free access to our program, because we want to help them to grow. And literally, in the VC investment world, as I mentioned about the Female Founder Initiative, there is a lack, a dearth of Black founders, and we really want to bring up that those categories of people to found some exciting companies. Because let's take Nigeria, let's take other parts of Africa. There are so many problems at the ground level that who really these founders understand can solve them. And there are investors. If you know, I've been recently last month or so listening to very interesting conversations on an audio only app called Clubhouse. And really, there is so much opportunity for the female founders and the Black founders that a lot of funding is going in that direction by global VCs. Also, the elderly population. Now, none of the initiatives around the world are focused on elderly, and a lot of the elderly keep suffering, because they have less access to even their family resources. Governments also recently, again a year or two, have started taking notice and started helping out the elderly. But literally, we also want to create impact with the elderly and help the veterans, start up and build companies which can actually become big, become multinational companies, and in turn they help the similar veterans and other people who are elderly, senior citizens and all of that. So these are some of the initiatives we have put, because it becomes very imperative, saying, you give us all this education about impact and social enterprise, why to build now? Have you done something for yourself as a company? So yes, these are some of the initiatives we've already rolled out since 2016. Black American founder 2019, and veteran was 2019. I would also like you to show you the progress. How do we measure? How do we go into the progress bar for UN SDGs? And this is a very interesting tool. You can take your time to kind of evaluate the tool at your own convenience. I'll quickly show that tool to you, and then open up the presentation for any question or any feedback you have on my presentation today. With that, having said that, I'd like to thank ASEC very much for this opportunity. I'm quickly going to go open my browser and show you the For Progress tool, as we are a For Progress company. So I think, is everyone able to see my screen, the browser?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So what becomes very important when you're rolling out a SDG related project, right? First you plan and then you prioritize. Now, so we've actually taken, when in 2015, the United Nations came up with the SDG framework around the 17 SDGs. 2017-18, when the SDGs really matured and people started building solutions around SDGs, 2018-19, we actually started building our internal plan for progress. And the outcome of that, but before that itself, we had initiatives like Female Founder, because we were actually thinking about diversity a lot. But having said that, most importantly, what happens is, when you have the right direction and want to have an impact, right, you have to start planning. So what we did is we came back with a tool for anyone and everyone to start using it. And for example, you want to start solve the poverty issue, right? And you start reading each question, and you start actually prioritizing it, and it'll give you approximately how much you are contributing, right, for no poverty. And there are a few examples. So I don't want to take too much time going through the tool. You can go to fi.co/progress, which was reflected in my presentation. I'll also be sharing the presentation with the team. But essentially what we want to do is evaluate each SDG, save and plan for each priority of the SDG, and find out what impact it generates. A beautiful report, okay, when you start saving, on what impact did you actually create. And then it is easier for you to start following the plan, right? So this was the final thing I wanted to show you. I'm happy to answer any questions. Any comments about my presentation are also welcome.
I have a question, please.
Yes, Hassan.
Can anybody join the Founder Institute? Is it like a membership, or like Isaac, or you have to work there?
No, anybody can join. If you are planning to start a company, it is an early stage pre-seed accelerator. you can join the Founder Institute. We have some students joining the Founder Institute, and then they become CEOs of companies, and they become, there's no membership or nothing. We have fellowships for certain bright students. For others, we also have a very small discounted fee, less than $1,000 to join the 14-week program. And if you're a awesome entrepreneur, we typically end up giving a lot of fellowships and around social enterprise, especially because we love that field. Females, most of the time, a lot of females get fellowships to do the program for free. What we do, though, in the program is requirement is basically that you have to incorporate a company in those 14 weeks. And then post the program, you'll get access to all the resources and then really run it as a company. You know, that's what we really want, because otherwise it just should not become a training program, you know, for you. Hassan, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Any feedback on the presentation? Anything could have been covered which I could have done better? Would love to hear your feedback.
We have 2 questions in the chat box.
Okay, just one. Excellent. So what are the big challenges faced by entrepreneurs in the UAE? And what can we do better to adapt to these challenges? Or do you want to solve these challenges? I think it would be good to solve these challenges. So I think I'll put some of the most simple challenges which any entrepreneur faces, including the UAE, is you have an idea. How do I take my idea to a business is the biggest thing, to make it a business, right? And UAE really gives us a lot of comfort ground, comfort zone. We are free, we are very secure. This you know, we're thankful to the leadership for making this country safe and secure. So literally some of the entrepreneurs which approach us come up with basic questions saying, how do we really launch this idea? We have this idea, how do we launch this? You know, while as when you're an entrepreneur, you should launch an idea and come to a accelerator incubator for support, right? So one of the biggest challenges is how do I launch this idea? Second is, many people think, many entrepreneurs, many founders or wannapreneurs who want to become entrepreneurs think that money is the only solution to build an idea. If I have funds in my bank account, then I can build the idea, right? Which is not the case. Really, if you are building, and I can give you many examples, okay, wherein companies have built communities on a Facebook page, and they have raised a couple of $1 million of funding just on a Facebook page, because one of the very interesting example was a you know, maids employment network, which in Asia, one of the founders was trying to build, and he was really struggling to see how to build it as a portal, right? Because it's very difficult to get those maids access those portals and things like that. While most of the maids, to show all of that what we do, they by default are on Facebook. So they thought of building a Facebook community, and they got funded. And after that, after funding, then they developed apps and things like that to kind of accelerate their innovation into a startup idea. So literally, funding is kind of ruled out of the equation. If you have an idea, people will come, you'll build, and people will come to access your idea, your social enterprise. And what can you do better? I think you have to have a builder mindset. You cannot do anything. If you are a social enterprise, become a part of that social enterprise. Execute with them, right? Like ASEC, they send you to different cultural geographies and all of that. They make you perform certain tasks which are very hard in that culture, or maybe it's very, very, very difficult in certain terrains of Africa or somewhere else, right? So similarly, execute the idea, right? And that those are the only things you can you can do to help yourself as well as the entrepreneurs around you. Any other questions? Silent, very, very silent audience.
Actually, you have made all of us think about ideas now. Like, I'm sure everyone is thinking about something or the other, some idea to come up with.
Absolutely. And do connect with me on LinkedIn, and happy to kind of mention that you attended my webinar with ASEC. And if you have certain very good ideas, happy to co-execute with you through Founder Institute or through our different initiatives which we keep rolling out in the GCC region.
Thank you so much, Samir. It was really amazing presentation, and I'm sure we have gained a lot of knowledge from it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Monica.
So one of our members is asking, what is your LinkedIn handle? If you could share
Yeah,
that with us.
I'm gonna just type it in the chat so it's accessible to everyone. Just 1 minute.
We do have another question as well.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that question. What is the level of social entrepreneurship in the UAE? In the UAE, there are many social entrepreneurs serving the less fortunate countries. In the UAE, to start a social entrepreneurship business or a social enterprise, um, uh, you have to go through an organization called Community Development Authority. At least in Dubai, I know that you have an organization called Community Development Authority, which lets you set up a social enterprise. But in other Emirates, basically what some of these social entrepreneurs have been doing, I would say some of the entrepreneurs who want to make a social impact, right? I would look at that aspect a little bit. So entrepreneurs who want to do a social impact are actually allocating certain funds from their for-profit companies and either reinvesting those profits into doing social work. For example, one of the initiatives we do during Ramadan is actually feeding the blue collar workers, right? And we actually supply to the UAE food banks, and then the food banks, because we directly are not able to go work with the blue collar workers. So with help of the food banks and Dubai police and all the authorities with certain approvals, we go and we help them get access to the food during Ramadan. And similarly during in terms of donations, there are charities which have been set up. So there are for-profit companies in the UAE doing social impact work. then and in the UAE as well as outside UAE, there are many in each I would say domain, you will find many large companies, family businesses contributing to social impact. For example, one of the initiatives is this 1 million Arab coders initiative, which is actually empowering the Arab youth to become coders over a period of 5 years, right? So this is a big impactful work. This is social impact work. So where the money, the resources, the people who train these Arab coders, they have to be paid. And so in order to execute that, these large business houses come up with such initiatives to kind of do social impact work. I would say many organizations, there are about 12,000 large organizations in the UAE. And when I say large organizations, these are 500 plus employees. Okay. And most of these organizations now, especially with COVID and pandemic and slowly that fear, that insecurity going away, they are rolling out new social impact initiatives by reinvesting their profits into such initiatives. So you will find many amazing initiatives being rolled out in the next this year as well as next couple of years to help humanity. And I think as ASEC members, you should identify these opportunities and try to participate, because you will definitely get, if you are planning to build a social enterprise or an enterprise with social impact, then the only experience you can get is by participating in such initiatives. Thank you, Muhammad, for the compliment. Thank you very much. Brilliant. So I have put my LinkedIn. If you have any questions, feel free to message me there. Happy to take any other questions offline as well.